It's your man, Sir Earl. All right, coming at you. Another podcast, number 62. Today is Saturday, uh, April 16th, I believe. Um, so, once again, hoping everybody's staying safe with this COVID stuff that's going around and sheltering in place and all those great things that they're telling us we should be doing to help keep things safe. I'm so once again want you guys to join me on my other platforms. But what I need you to do, if you want to be my friend, become a friend on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, send a message and let me know you heard it via the podcast. Other than that, I'm not going to accept it because I get a lot of requests from quacks. So just let me know you heard it on the podcast, and I will definitely accept you. And like I say, it's Facebook is Earl Bell. On Instagram, I have 3 Instagrams, which is Sir Earl 1. I have It's My World 1 podcast. And I have Sir Camelot Distribution, which is our distribution site where we sell a lot of clothing and supplements and things like that. Twitter is Sir Earl's World. I have Snapchat also. And, my Snapchat is Sir Earl 1. I have LinkedIn, Sir Earl Bell. So I'm asking you guys to join me on there where I post something good and motivating every day. And I think you will really enjoy it. If you enjoy the podcast, I think you'll really enjoy the social media posting. I'm in the process of getting my website, Sir Earl's World, redone. I have a blog on there, which I'm going to start updating on a regular basis. So they're working on that now. And, I want you guys to join and catch all parts of what I have to say if you are inspired by this podcast. And also, if you like the podcast, recommend it to a friend. We're trying to build up our following, especially on YouTube. I'm looking for a lot more subscribers. So, if you can recommend it to a friend because you like it and you think it's meaningful and positive and motivating, I ask you to recommend a friend. So, get on with the podcast. My podcast today is, the name of the podcast is Survivor's Remorse. Survivor's Remorse. And what that is that, unlike anything else, when you're in the service, anybody in the service will tell you that when they were in war, it brings about a special kind of bond that only other people that was involved in war can relate to. And when they leave, when they get out of the discharged or whatever, they feel survivor's remorse because a lot of their brothers in arms were killed or things like that, and they just felt like, well, why did God spare me? I never really knew the meaning behind that. I've talked to a lot of veterans, a lot of them have said it. But what I can do is that, only thing I can do is associate my upbringing with warfare, because we lived in a neighborhood where shootings, stabbings, rapes, beat-ups, beat-downs, all those things were just everyday occurrence. How this subject came to me is that I had an old friend reach out to me on Facebook. I hadn't seen him in probably 30 years. And I gave him my phone number, so he called me. And me and him were sitting on the phone and we were talking. And GA happened to hear the conversation, and she was saying, wow, you guys' conversation was different from what most other people would hear. Like, if you went to high school or you went to college and you haven't seen somebody in 30 years, and oh man, what happened to Joe? He works downtown, or he moved to California and he does this and he does that. So-and-so went back, got their PhD, they're a doctor over here in Baltimore, whatever. So you have all these stories about the things that people you haven't seen in a while that you knew during those days. What has their life evolved to? Well, our conversation went as such as like, so-and-so was killed. They found him in the weeds by the basketball court. He was shot 10 times. so and so is in prison. He's got a 20-year sentence for beating somebody with a baseball bat, which is a true story. Or, like this particular guy, he used to run with me back when I was younger, and he probably wasn't the toughest guy in the bunch, but he was a good loyal friend. And in talking to him, he was like, yeah, I got involved with selling drugs, and I wound up doing 7 years in prison, which the neighborhood that I come from, there's always a statement that 98%, you only have a 2% chance of making it out of there alive. And that's an accurate statement because most people that I know died or are spending lengthy prison terms, guys that I grew up with. So what it started me to think was, back in my day as a teenager, these guys that ran with me, I left. A lot of people think that I left to move to the suburbs or to start a different life or whatever. In actuality, I made a change while I was still living in Inglewood. I went to auto mechanic school, graduated, got a legitimate job, didn't pay much, not what I was accustomed to. And it just, you look, as I look at, maybe no one else does, but I look at it, I say, a lot of these guys that I ran with, I altered their life in such a way. Now, I don't know if their life would have turned out that way anyway, but during that time, that was who I was and what we did. And now, if these guys only had a 2% chance of making it out, which majority of them have spent time in prison, lengthily since 7 years is a long time in prison. But yet, he's not dead, he made it out, he's within that 2%. So, I look and I say, I didn't go to high school, I didn't graduate from college, but yet I own a business, I own a home, I live in one of the best communities there is in the south suburbs of Chicago. And, most people, because of the decisions that these guys were making, I was making those same decisions. Beating people down, shooting, stabbings, breaking, stealing cars, selling drugs. I was doing all the same things. They were actually following my lead. So when I spoke with him, his first response was, man, a lot of guys in the old neighborhood, they thought you were dead, because no one heard from me in 30 years, because I don't really go down there as much, because my sister used to live down there, but she doesn't live down there, so I don't go down there that often. And they haven't heard from you, so a lot of people assume you were dead. As a bodybuilder, which, I've been bodybuilding for a very long time, this tells you the mentality of where I come from. As a bodybuilder, one of the times when I was nowhere near the size I am now, I went down there and the first question, which was of multiple questions, was how long did you stay at the joint? They believe that you can only get big muscles by spending time in prison. That's the mentality of what we own. Their mentality is such that to move to the east side, we grew up on the south side, to move to the east side, they think you're bougie, let alone moving to the suburbs and marrying a Japanese woman and owning the business. Ain't no telling what they think of me. But the environment and the upbringing and the things that we live, the ways that we live, were so different. And it's so normal to me that it became really, really apparent when Chie listened in on a conversation. There was no, what did so-and-so do after he got out of college or graduated from high school. It was, oh boy, they found him dead 5 years ago. This guy is doing 25 years in prison. This guy is doing life because he killed somebody. Like, I have a friend that is a 3-strike loser. He spent in the rest of his life in Statesville prison. So all of the people that I grew up with in that neighborhood, those are your conversation. It's never about who's doing good, who did what, who graduated or who got a PhD. Those are not our conversations. Just to talk to somebody and find out that they have not been found dead or they're not in prison, they consider you a success story. And it's if you're not from that, you look at it and you look at it as a sad existence. Me being on the outside, you look at it and it's the life I knew. It's the life I've known my whole life. It was how I grew up. And even now, I gravitate more towards, I have two really good friends that are doing lengthy sentences. They've been in well over 10 years and still got 10, 15 years to go. But those are some of my best friends because I gravitate more towards those type of people than the type of people who are not men of their word, not men of integrity, lie to your face, say one thing and mean something else. The one great thing about where I come from, they were men of their words. If they told you don't come on this block, you didn't go on that block because they meant what they said. And if you decided to go on that block, you had to deal with whatever repercussions came with that. And you knew that. So, you treaded lightly and you took people at their word because they meant it. People nowadays will give their word and not mean one goddamn word of it. So that survivor's remorse is, it hit me really hard because I realized that guys like this guy that called me, that I had said, they ran with me. And the one thing that he told me, he said, one thing I can always say about you when we ran together, you were always loyal. You were always willing to do yourself before you ask of others. And I look and I say, how different would these people's lives be? Because I do a lot of motivational speaking now. By the way, if you need a motivational speaker, I do a lot of speaking. And I talk to a lot of troubled teenagers, and I've chosen to have a positive impact on their life because I do know these streets. I know where these people come from. I've had so many friends and relatives and things like that they didn't make it. These guys, the streets is very, very mean. They will erase your existence. They will erase any memory of you and your birthday. They don't care about anything except survival. It's a jungle. And being raised in one of the worst neighborhoods in Chicago has its own share. Now, I've had people that lived in Inglewood. They were not raised in Inglewood. My ex-wife was one of them. I was raised in Inglewood. I did the gang life. I did the in and out of jails. I did the, fights, and, I come from the gutter. So to have made it through all of that, to be at the position that I'm at, I definitely am grateful for that because I survived for a reason. And I try to make use of that reason by giving back and speaking to troubled youth and letting them know that you have a better choice to make, because you make the wrong choice, it will cost you your life. I've seen it too many times. And, and like I said, I was granted from that because I didn't make any decision. This guy that did 7 years, he was the guy that was under me when I ran the streets. So my decision making was never any different than these guys. It's just that, God saw fit for me to not go through that because I believe he had a higher purpose for me. And I try to live that purpose every day by talking and training, which is what I do now, and motivational speaking, which is what I've always done. But I believe I'm giving back and I'm helping people. I've had people come up to me that I spoke to, youth, teenagers, and to say that just hearing me speak and knowing that I knew their existence. I mean, I was a parent at 14 years old. I've made a lot of mistakes in my days. That's why my seminar of speaking is called Against the Odds, because I made it from a situation where 98% of the people don't make it out. And I made it to be a successful business owner. I bought my own business for 23 years. and to put some positivity into society instead of always taking negativity out of society. So in one sense, I do have that survivor's remorse because I look at the devastation of things that I caused with the way that I lived, but I also look at how I was spared and grateful for that and how I give back. So everyone has a story to tell, and try to help someone that maybe, is going down the path that you were going down. Maybe it's the drugs, maybe it's early pregnancy, who knows. I never believed that my story or my upbringing could help anyone, but I was wrong on that. So I was given a chance. I give back. I'm urging everyone else who, your story, we all have one, it's going to change somebody's life. So try to make an impact of a positive nature instead of a negative nature. So this is your man, Sir Earl. Until next time, I'm signing out. Peace.